Well, this is our last in this series, Chronicles, A Crown of Thorns. We went through the whole book of Revelation, didn't we, earlier on in the coronavirus lockdown stuff, and we've worked our way right the way through Mark's Gospel.
We're looking older and frailer, no
and
doubt.
Tired and looking forward to
haggard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, here is Jesus, and he is breaking out of lockdown. So he's been in the tomb. And now we have the resurrection. And Mark is very strange here because he suddenly abruptly ends. So we're just reading these last few verses of the last chapter of Mark 16. When the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome brought spices so that they might go to anoint Jesus' body. Very early on the first day of the week, just after sunrise, they were on their way to the tomb, and they asked each other, "Who will roll the stone away from the entrance of the tomb?" But when they looked up, they saw that the stone, which was very large, had been rolled away. As they entered the tomb, they saw a young man dressed in a white robe sitting on the right side, and they were alarmed. "Don't be afraid," he said. "You are looking for Jesus the Nazarene, who was crucified. He has risen. He is not here. See the place where they laid him. But go and tell his disciples and Peter, he is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him, just as he told you." Trembling and bewildered, the women went out and fled from the tomb. They said nothing to anyone because they were afraid.
Yeah, it is quite an abrupt ending, isn't it? But it's hard to, overstate the significance of this, really, because this is what we've been leading up to, isn't it? The death and the resurrection of Christ. If Christ is not risen, then really all of what we've said has been a waste of time, isn't it? If he didn't rise from the dead, all that he said about himself isn't true. It means that we have no hope. There's so many problems if Jesus isn't risen. And so this is it. This is where we've been leading up to. This is the new world, the new age, the resurrection age, breaking into this world in the person of Christ and setting the pattern of things to come for those who trust in him. And it begins with these women again. They've been at the cross. They've seen where he was laid, and now they are going to be first at the tomb. And they're coming with these spices, because a bit like Joseph of Arimathea with his linen, they want to show affection for Christ even in his death. So they want to give him a proper burial. They want to make sure that he's looked after even in his death. So we're drawn again just to the humble devotion of these women for their Lord. That's where it starts, isn't it?
Yeah. And again, yes, as you say, they're the first eyewitnesses. Again, if you were making this up, I think you would have a whole group of disciples, perhaps some Roman officials, and they would see Jesus. They would see the stone rolling back, wouldn't you? And then
Scribes
Jesus walking out
down,
and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not done like that at all. It's done with these women seeing this. And they get there. And there's a lot edited out here. He doesn't tell us about the Roman guards that were placed there, that the fact that they had run off. You get that in other Gospels, don't you? So it's sort of pared right down here. This is the funny thing. He gives us details of certain things, and then he sort of takes away quite a lot of detail that the other Gospel writers give us. So here they are. But there is stuff here that is interesting. So we were talking about the linen cloth and stuff, because if what happened in the Old Testament was the priest would go in on the Day of Atonement. He would go into the Holy of Holies and put the blood on the Ark of the Covenant. He would then come out. And he would take, out of the place where God was, he would take his linen clothes off and fold them up. And when the people saw that the linen clothes were taken off, it meant atonement had happened. It meant that the blood sacrifice was acceptable to God because he didn't kill the priest, the high priest. He'd come out. He'd sort of gone into the place and he'd risen again. And that's what's happened here. Yeah, if Jesus hadn't risen, the wages of sin is death,
Yeah.
and the gift of God is eternal life. Well, if Jesus has paid the wages of sin, death, he has to rise again to show the payment's been done. And so that's what's going on here. And you've got all of that wrapped up with the atonement is acceptable. We are now at one with God because of Jesus. Yeah.
And, you find, as you say, all kinds of details about that in the other Gospels, don't you? And it just shows us not only the connection to the Old Testament, which is really important, but that these really are eyewitness testimonies as well. Because the reality is, if at the end of every Gospel we found a word-for-word replica, it would be suspicious, wouldn't it? If every eyewitness saw the same thing in exactly the same way at exactly the same time, it would look like a fabrication, wouldn't it? But the fact that there are slightly different details all building up the same picture without any of the central truth missing shows that we're dealing with some really important stuff here, which is all about the atonement, as you say. And they've got as they're approaching the tomb, they've got this practical problem, haven't they? Who's going to roll away the stone? And the stone is quite a big deal, isn't it? So in verse 46, there's a big stone going there. And who's going to roll away the stone? And they saw the stone had been rolled away. So this wasn't like a pebble you could, dislodge with your shoe. It was a great big thing that was probably weighed tons and tons. And so to see it moved would have been the first sort of alarm, wouldn't it? They'd be thinking, huh? What?
Yeah.
Well, this is definitely the one, isn't it? Yeah, we saw where he was laid. Yeah, this is it. But what? What's happened to that stone? So that would. But then there's more alarming stuff, isn't there?
Yes, because you've got this. Presumably it's an angel described here in white robes, and they're alarmed again, aren't they?
Yeah, which you would be. I mean, if you were going to a funeral with an open casket and you went up to pay your respects and it suddenly sat up and you saw life where there should have been death, you would be thinking, what on earth is going on here? This isn't right. The stone's gone. There's a living person in here. Yeah. So you can understand their kind of alarm.
Yeah. The other Gospels sort of fill in that with a bit of that, because the linen clothing is on, and you've got sort of angel either end, which takes you back into the Holy of Holies, doesn't it? Where there is an angel looking down at the box,
the cover,
the cover, and so forth. So lots and lots of stuff there. Don't be alarmed. You're looking for Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. So that's happened. He, dead and buried. He is alive. He is not here. And what an amazing thing, because there is a grave. There is a hole in death now. That death has got a hole in it. There's an entrance, if you like, to beyond death, to resurrection life, isn't there? Because of Jesus.
Yeah, and it's a certain thing. He was crucified. He has risen. He is not here. And then, see where they've laid him. Look with your eyes, hear with your ears, see, and then go and tell the other disciples, he's going ahead of you. There you will see him, just as he told you. Yeah. And, that in some ways is Jesus's message to us, isn't it? We know he's risen and he's gone back to be with the Father, but we have this promise, you will see him just as he told you, that one day we are going to see the resurrected Lord ourselves, just as he told us. And so there's great hope for the disciples.
When I first became a Christian, that verse used to be in quite a lot of old little chapels up, but all it had was that part of the verse. It just had over the front where the pulpit was. It just had these words: "He is not here." It was the other way around. He is not here. He is risen. And you sort of you've just become a Christian and you want to follow the Lord Jesus, and the first thing you read is he's not here, so I'll go somewhere else then. But it's not a great verse to rip out of context and stick up on a thing, is it? So he's alive. Then they are to go. They are to tell the male disciples, again underlining that this is true, and the significance and backbone of women within Christianity. And then it's sort of left there, isn't it? It just stops.
Yeah.
No wonder people wanted to add on a bit.
Yeah, well, it does, doesn't it? And I think they're trembling and bewildered, and they went out and they fled. And I think this tells us that as committed as these women were to Jesus, just like the other disciples, they perhaps hadn't understood the fullness of what was going to happen here. You know, you don't get the impression they were expecting to see their risen Lord, as he'd said.
No.
And so they're still awaiting that final confirmation of their faith, when they will see their Lord, and then they will go into the world.
And the other Gospels take us to the next step, don't they? Show us. And we were talking about this. It is a very funny way to end, and why would Mark just end there? And we were saying, well, it's a bit like that film, what's it called?
Inception.
So Inception, where at the end, if anybody knows it, where he spins a little spinning top thing. And the question is it a dream or is it not a dream? And in dreams, it carries on spinning. And in non-dreams, it falls over, doesn't it? And the director has focused in on this. He spins it and it wobbles. And then that's the end. So you don't know whether it falls over or if it carries on. And that then gets you arguing.
Yes, and it's inviting you in, isn't it?
Yeah, apparently there's a whole load of fans debating and arguing, and you've got these different groups and stuff. Yeah. But the point of this may well be he stops there to make us say, what happened next? Yeah. What happened next? To intrigue us to find out the truth.
Yeah, and it's inviting us in, isn't it? As you say, to find out more, to see what happened to Jesus, and to see him ourselves with the eyes of faith, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's the end of Crown of Thorns. And we hope to be doing a new series soon, so look out for that. If you could let us know what other things they can do.
Yeah, well, you can like the videos, you can subscribe to the channel, and you can hit the bell, which means that you will get notified when we do release a new video. But as you say, you can also comment, and we've got a couple of ideas about how to take these videos forward. But if you would like to see anything in particular, or you've got any ideas, we would love to hear just some feedback. Even if you've just been watching and enjoyed them, it would be great to hear. But we trust that you've been blessed by it as we've gone through together.
If you haven't enjoyed them, then just keep quiet.
Yeah.
But if you have, let us know. I mean, we're just sitting here in a dark room, aren't we, looking at each other.
Yeah.
So it'd be great to know if there's people out there.